Welcome everyone to our last slow flow. And our theme today is emerge. So it's kind of aligning with the full moon that's happening in Leo this week as well. So we're reaching this fullness of the moon cycle and definitely a time for change. I don't know if you've had a lot of change happening in your life. We've got lots of stuff happening collectively and also in a planetary way. We've had Mars in retrograde for a couple of months now, kind of pulling us back into conflict. So this is going to change very soon. In February, there's going to be a little bit of a shift forward into forward momentum. So this class is definitely a chance to just check in and maybe be ready for change to come or to kind of navigate the change that might be happening now. And as always, we'll start off with a meditation, we'll move into a gentle flow, and then we'll finish with a yoga nidra. So hopefully nice and relaxed by the end of it. Okay, so moving into our theme, just finding a seat. And I invite you for this meditation to be in an upright seat. Obviously, if you feel like you want to do something different, make a different shape, be more supported, and lie down, you can do this. But otherwise, you could come to a wall or the sofa to have some support for the spine as you come into a meditation position. And just make sure that your body is comfortable. If you need any props, if you need to adjust and move, always making sure that we tend to our bodies, that we don't go through discomfort and into anything that's painful. We actually want to pause or come back before that point. So, from this position, either having a soft gaze or the eyes closed, come to our theme of emerge. And so, the theme of emerging from the winter, really. And it could be more personal to you, emerging from something else. And so, if you like to just bring in personal relevance, like how that might relate to you, where do you need to prepare or be ready to emerge from soon? And it could just be the winter, it could just be this seasonal factor, or it could be something a lot more personal. And we'll come back to the tools as well that we used in the very first session, the trauma-informed tools that help us navigate any overwhelming sensations. And we'll just move through those in context with this theme of emerge. So we'll start off with the ground, feeling the ground where we are, feeling how this ground supports us. So whether this is the country that you're in, the neighborhood that you're in, the house that you're in, the community that you're in, partnership or family or any kind of social structure. Maybe it's more about how you've set yourself up in this space as well. So just feeling that physical space underneath you, maybe through the legs, the feet, the sit bones, and also noticing what that brings up in your emotional self, in your emotional body. And does that also lead to a sense of safety or stability. Maybe it's more about uncertainty. And whatever it is, just allowing it to be as it is. Taking a moment just to locate the spine and draw the top of the spine slightly forward, so towards the front and then towards the back. So maybe feeling the weight as it comes into the front of the sit bones and as it comes into the back. And then seeing if we can find that middle point between forward and back with shoulders over the hips, feeling where the spine is extending up in a neutral position from the ground. Doing the same from left to right, a very gentle sway. Feeling weight coming into the right sit bone and then into the left sit bone. Back to the right, into the left. And then finding that space in between both sit bones in the center. And then we think about that center position, that center space. Seeing if we can maybe locate it one way or another within our torso. Maybe it's further down towards the navel. Maybe it's further up around the heart space. Moving into this next tool of centering, finding our center, feeling our center. And again, we're just exploring, taking a little inner micro adventure, just seeing what comes up for us. Do we notice some sensations in the center? And if so, what do we notice about those sensations? And seeing if we can please stay more curious rather than judgmental. So we're interested to learn about those sensations rather than wanting to put them into good or bad or pleasure or uncomfortable. So we're just curious about those sensations. And as we have our awareness in the center of the body, wherever is the point easiest for you to locate, for you to assign the center, do you notice something about the breath whilst you're there? Do you notice some movement in the rib cage or in the lungs? or in the shoulder blades, maybe in the diaphragm. Maybe it's more about the quietness, hearing the quietness of this time, and then noticing the sound of the breath within the quietness. And rather than changing or controlling the breath, we bring our curious nature to the breath cycle again. Noticing the difference between the inhale to the exhale. And perhaps seeing if we can really refine our awareness to where there is some space between the inhale and the exhale. We really need to concentrate to tune in to that timing, that rhythm of the breath, to notice when there is a pause. And this is where we really want to bring our theme in, to notice what emerges during these pauses. What do we notice when we bring our awareness here, when we bring our curiosity here? And perhaps also our compassion, if anything does come up in those pauses that might need some care, some love, some self-love, some tenderness. And then moving from those pauses and attunement to the pauses towards the exhalation now. Now with a little bit of effort or energy, seeing if we can extend the exhalation so that it's a deeper breath out. And if you like, opening the mouth, sighing out, taking a deeper breath out, a longer breath, noticing how that leads to the next inhale. Maybe a deeper inhale because of that exhale. Three more deeper exhalations, just feeling like you are in control, you have autonomy over your breath. You can choose what feels good, what feels right. And then coming to the final tool where we orient ourselves. So we use the senses just to check in and bring ourselves into the present if we've drifted or if something takes our attention. So let's take the hands and place them somewhere on the upper body. Could be around the shoulders, could be around the jaw, could be around the heart space. So just taking the hands to bring in the sensation of touch. Again, staying with that curiosity, seeing how that feels. If something feels good, feel free to go with it. So if you start massaging your neck and like, wow, that feels amazing, then keep going. Some other options to bring in self-touch. You can take one hand underneath the armpit and then the other hand, the opposite hand onto the shoulder into a little self-hug and just holding in stillness and breathing in here. Take 3 breaths here, wherever the hands are, feeling sensation through hands, connecting mind with hands and touch and sensation. And then bringing the palms together, eventually rubbing the palms to generate some heat. And bring your hands over the face with that heat to open out through the eyes when you're ready. And see if you can locate your candle before you go anywhere else with your eyes. And you can just hold it in the hands or you can just put it in front of you. And just looking at the flame or looking at anything really. It doesn't have to be the candle if you've got a picture or a plant. Activating the sight part of our senses. And having just 5 breaths where we use our concentration, our gentle willingness to just stay focused, to see what emerges when we really bring the focus into one point. And especially if you're looking at a candle, this one point of transformation, a flame really representing how this cycle of life, this kind of winter, darkness to light, is occurring all the time in our lives. Letting anything come that needs to come to the surface, letting anything go that needs to be released. And then very gently we'll start to make our way down into a lying down position, which will be a little bit tricky for you to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to guide you through the movements. Maybe I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. So we're going to come down into this position on the back, first of all, where your feet are quite wide. I would say keep your socks on if you've got fluffy, cozy socks. Feet are a little bit turned out, heels in, and then we're just coming to a point where we can relax with the knees apart, or if you want to roll the knees in to touch each other. We allow the spine to be long, to be mindful of the neck so that the back of the head is on the mat and the chin is drawn in slightly. And then just take a moment to feel into the lower back and begin some very subtle movements with the knees moving from left to right. So don't go all the way down to the ground just yet, just about 10 centimeters to the left, back through center, and then 10 centimeters to the right. Very, very slowly, softly, just feeling into the lower back. And now you might go a little bit deeper to one side, back through to center, deeper to the other side, letting the knees fall, using gravity to take you down. And maybe now we're letting the knees fall to one side and holding them there, letting them rest, letting them stay, and just seeing how that is for the lower back. And if it's too intense, then as always, just come to a softer position, find less intensity. Letting your knees rest to one side. And then whichever is your knee that's towards the ground, lifting up through that foot and resting it on the outside of the top knee. If that's possible, if that's too much, if you've got any pain in the knee, then avoid that. Just stay down. It just adds a little bit more weight into the top leg and adds a bit more of a hip stretch. So you can see if you want to do that. And you can also see if you want to open out through the arms, maybe the arms open, the shoulders open, and you take your gaze in the opposite direction to the knees. How that feels. And just having two more breaths, and the breaths can be full, deep belly breaths. And if it feels good to really focus on the exhalation, extending, deepening the exhalation, this will help come down into parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest mode. And then we'll start to release the foot if it's on top. We'll take the knees back up to center. And then we'll do the same on the other side, but maybe just pause for a moment in the middle. See how that feels with the spine neutral. And then coming across to the other side. And so when you've got your knees to one side, it's the lower leg that comes out with the foot and it goes onto the outside of the upper leg. Usually around the knee or just above the knee. But if there's any pain, please don't force it and just leave out that bit. Deep breaths here. Again, time to open the arms if it feels good. To also bring in the neck to the twist, to go in the opposite direction. If it's too strong for the neck, then just take the head to look in a direction that's comfortable. And then slowly releasing the foot from the top knee, bringing both knees back up to center. And pausing here if you like to take the knees in together to just rest on each other and the feet a bit wider. If you like to go to a different posture, if you like to do any other shape. And then we'll stay on the back with the feet somewhere around underneath the knees, and the right leg will lift up and bend so that the right foot comes onto the left thigh and the knee comes out to the side. So threading the needle. And then your choice if you want to explore bringing the knee closer, maybe taking a bind, the hand somewhere on the left leg, or just keeping the left foot down on the ground and staying like that. If you take the bind and you want to move the left foot in circles, if you've lifted the left foot away from the ground, you can also do this. Taking 5 breaths and working with the lower back and the hips. So these areas that take a lot of impact and pressure and tend to store a lot of stuff emotionally for us. Taking the last couple of breaths here. Preparing, preparing to release, preparing to move out of the posture, to come back and let go. Find that comfortable resting position between. So option is also to lengthen out through the legs and have a neutral lower back and hips and legs if that feels good. And then when you're ready, coming to the other side, so we bend the knees. This time the left leg bends. You flex the foot, so the flex of that foot is going to help protect the left knee joint. And then you find where is good to bring your right knee. So whether you bring your right knee closer in or whether you let it stay further away with the foot on the ground, it's up to you. And just letting the body be the one that decides that rather than the mind. And with no judgment either. Is it possible to get through a yoga class without judging our bodies for the way they are and just being kind? That is also the practice. Having last couple of breaths here, being ready to move. Slowly, slowly coming back to center, releasing the foot to the ground, left foot to the ground, coming out. And then how does your body want to respond to that? So does it feel good to release the lower back, which has been quite compressed? So does it feel good to actually stretch out the legs? Or does it feel good to do something different? So just take that time yourself to see what feels good. And then we will bend the knees and bring the knees wide and bring the hands to the knees. So coming into a gentle, happy baby. And you might prefer a different version of happy baby when you walk the hands to the shins or even the ankles or the feet and you extend the feet out. So this is also an option to have the feet further up towards the sky. If you want to have your feet free and move your feet in circles or just wiggle the toes, or maybe even if you've got your hands near your feet, give your feet a little squeeze or some love, some attention, some care. Maybe just a stroke, gentle stroke. It's also nice too. If you know any foot acupuncture, then you could do this. And if you want to take a little rock from side to side, finding some momentum and some gentle control to move the knees, to the right, to the left. And then gently bringing the knees together, the left knee down, and extending the right leg up towards the sky. So we just do a little bit of a stretch out for the hamstrings, the back of the legs, and if it feels okay, taking the right hands, the hands around the right leg, around the thigh, and then just gently bending the knee. So we're drawing it up towards the sky, stretching out, maybe drawing the ball of the foot up towards the sky to activate and stretch the hamstring, the back of the knee, and then bending the knee, letting it relax and soften. And you can feel, where's that edge point? Where is the stretch going to be? Where you can breathe, where you can be, where it's not too intense, but also you feel something. So there's that midpoint where it's doing something, but not too much. We're just going to do two more of these. We're extending up through the leg. Maybe there's a bit more of a stretch with the toes coming towards the head. And then softening through the knee. Maybe if you want to squeeze the knee in towards the armpit as well. Compressing the hip. This might feel good. One more time. And then we release that right leg and switch it over, taking the other side up. As you extend up through the other side, what do you notice about the back of the leg? Having just done one side, you notice that this side is actually quite tight now. So just take your time, feel, and let the feelings guide the movement, extending and bending the knee, extending and bending, and maybe as you extend, there is a little bit of more of a flex towards the head, maybe staying for a little bit longer, and maybe a bit of a squeeze knee in towards the armpit. Just feeling in what feels good. How can you create some space in the back of the leg and in the hip? And then we'll start to release. We'll release that leg. And then we'll just take a moment extending out all the way out. Body is flat. And we're coming into Banana Asana for the last shape on our back. So we're just going to gently slide the hips and the pelvis across to the right and keep your left foot over to the left. And then draw your right foot towards your left foot. So you've got your hips at a diagonal angle to your feet. And then take your arms overhead. Take a little angle through the shoulder girdle and take your arms in the same direction as the feet. And I hope I've explained that okay. I can't see anyone what you're doing, but just try and look like a banana, and that's how this posture works. So we use gravity and we let our body really sink into it. So if you've taken your feet and your arms to the left side, you should be getting a stretch through the right side of the body. And we don't want this to be an active stretch, so you want everything to be passive, relaxed, soft. The stretch will happen because of time spent here. Having about 3 more breaths. And then slowly coming back through to center. Once you're in center, just pause for a moment. So thinking about the feet being hip width apart, the shoulders and the hips being in alignment, the spine being neutral, palms facing up, neck being long in the same line as the spine. And then softly going to the other side with the hips. So this time the hips shuffle to the left. Me extend out through the right leg, through the right foot, and then slide your left foot to meet your right foot. And once you've got your hips and your feet angled, then taking the arms overhead, taking your arms in the same direction as the feet, and then having this stretch through the left side of the body. Letting your shoulders and your arms be heavy. And we just want to flex, right? So we don't want any other curves in the spine. So if you're trying to go too deeply, you might notice that the lower back curve comes in or the tailbone sticks out a little bit. So sometimes we need to be a little bit more conservative in our flex so that we can actually be more comfortable there. And then as you stay there and breathe, the connective tissue should lengthen and open, especially if we're having these deep, full breaths. The movement of the rib cage is contributing to all the fascia moving around the body. So this whole internal connective tissue sheath skin thing that connects our whole body. And we'll take just a couple more breaths here. And then being ready to come out super slow, very slowly out of these yin postures, coming back to center, to the rebound, to be still in a neutral position. Palms facing up, shoulders away from the ears, feet about hip width apart or even wider. And here we're going to prepare to come to all fours. So you're going to take the knees in, so sliding the feet up, bringing the knees in, and then taking the knees to one side, and then drawing the hands under the shoulders. And we'll come, first of all, into a child's pose. So as we find where's comfortable for us today, starting off with the knees, you might want an extra blanket under the knees, might want knees wide or knees together, and then you might want to just find where's good to have the hands out in front or under the face. And just noticing your energy levels now. So we've worked on this full deep breath to really actually drop down into a more relaxed state in the nervous system. And just noticing what that is doing for you right now. We will change it up a little bit. We will activate the nervous system a little bit just to keep the challenge happening, but then we'll come down again. So from here, I'm going to start to walk the hands underneath the chest. In your own time, coming into a tabletop position. And as I mentioned, if you want to have something extra under the knees, this makes it nicer. And from here, we'll just start to take a gentle rocking forward into the hands. So as you bring your weight forward into the hands, maybe the shoulders come over the wrists or a little bit further. Activate the hands, press down into the ends of the fingers, into the palm, so around the palm, and actually press down so your hands are really working, and then bring the weight back, maybe hollowing the belly. So you're starting to have this gentle rock forward and back. And feeling it through the hands. And maybe you want to start going further or deeper, extending out into a low plank, lengthening out through the tailbone, so the lower back. We want to hollow the belly and lengthen. Maybe we draw the shoulders open a little bit, not going into a back bend just yet, just staying straight into a low plank with the knees down, or Not even going that far as well. We can just go into a little bit further forward. And then we'll start to go side to side and add in some more organic movements, hips going in a circle or a figure of eight. Maybe you want to drop down the head, look over the right shoulder, look over the left shoulder. Starting to feel into the spine now, a bit more dynamically. What's going on there? We will begin to pause. I'm going to check back into these hand locks that we've all hopefully got going, the engagement of the hands, and into the root lock and the core lock, so engaging at the pelvic floor and at the abdominals. And then option to come forward so that hands, elbows and shoulders in alignment, and you're in a low plank position. You can have the front of the feet down and the knees down, or if you want to just bring the knees away and come into a little plank, also an option. Just to test and just to see what's going on. Staying curious, no pressure. What's the body feeling like it wants to do today? I'm going to take 3 more breaths wherever you are. And then if you've got your knees up, just releasing the knees and then coming back to child's pose. So as you come back into child's pose, noticing the change, noticing where you feel that change, instantly temperature, instantly the breath, instantly a little bit more stress. But can you be okay with that? Can you just allow yourself to move through that change? To stay curious, to stay compassionate. Just noticing. And then pressing down through the hands, coming back up to all fours into our tabletop position. Making sure the knees and hips are in alignment, the spine is neutral, and the hands and shoulders are in alignment. And then taking your right hand, we're just going to send the right hand behind the head, maybe resting it on the neck, the back of the skull, and the elbow is up towards the sky. So we're going to add in a little bit of a twist and some work for the core. As we exhale, we're going to bring the elbow down. Maybe the elbow goes towards the left wrist or the ground, and then we're going to bring the elbow back up. Nice. With the breath as we exhale, to bring the elbow down, inhale to open the chest. Exhale to lower, follow the belly, inhale to open. Exhale, really pressing down through that left hand. One more, lowering it down, lifting it up. Release the hand from the neck, send the fingertips up towards the sky. Last little stretch for the armpit, for the arm, and then release down with the hand straight away. We'll swap it over. Make sure you've got that alignment of the joints. Left hand towards the back of the head or the neck, wherever you can rest and support your head. And then we drop the left elbow towards the right wrist, inhaling to open, exhaling to lower. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale, lift and open, feeling the left side of the rib cage opening. Lowering down to squeeze and contract in. And then one more time to lower. This time as we lift, we extend up through the fingertips. Squeeze as you stretch, pressing down through the right hand to lift up through the left. And then release that hand and come back into a child's pose. Or also option to come down onto the belly And soften here. Have a little break here. So feeling that activation probably through the wrists, through the hands. And again, just noticing the change, the intensity that comes, how we feel that in the body, in the mind, and how after a while that also goes. Okay, so last one to bring some challenge where we come back onto our all fours. We'll extend out through the left leg and it can stay down on the ground. That's where we start. If you want to bring it to a balanced position away from the ground, just make sure that the ankle and the hip are in alignment so the leg is not super high lifted. It's actually lined up and parallel to the ground. And then maybe if you want the last little bit of challenge where you extend out the opposite arm, so right arm extending out in front, keeping the gaze low, and we can stay here. And if you want to bring in some movement with the breath, gentle flow as you exhale, right elbow to left knee underneath the body, a rounding of the spine, inhaling to extend, exhaling to bring it in to touch, inhaling to extend. Exhale to bring it in. Inhale to extend. Nice, one more time. Exhaling, bringing it in. And extending out, and then release your extension. And back to all fours, just stabilize before you go to the other side. And then finding where you want to set up from on the other side. So whether it's foot down, foot lifted, if your leg is extending, if your opposite arm is extending, and then if you want to bring in the movement with the breath as you exhale, you hollow the belly, round the spine. As you inhale, we have that lengthening automatically happening through the spine. Keep moving with the breath and letting the breath guide the movement. Nice. So just doing one more time, extending and compressing, and then coming back to center in your own time. And from here, again, option to come to child's pose or come to the belly. Take your rebound. And from here, just check in. How are you feeling now? Do you want to take a downward facing dog? Are you feeling like a downward facing dog? If you are, then some time, some space just to come into that shape, to see how that feels for the body, the inverted V. And if your body is not calling for a downward facing dog, that is also fine. Just stay where you are, or maybe come into a comfortable shape, something that feels nourishing, feels good, maybe just stillness. If you're taking a down dog, just maybe gently moving out through the heels, bending through the knees one at a time, giving the head a little shake out, drawing the shoulders down the back. So we say down the back, but because the back is upside down, the shoulders are going, in fact, up towards the pelvis. So creating some space between the ears, between the shoulders, and maybe final thing, just to give a little blow out through the mouth like a horse. Wherever you are, letting go of that. Okay. And then slowly starting to make your way down if you've taken a down facing dog. And if you're in a different position, we're going to come to seated. So we're just going to make our way into a seated position where we bring our legs out wide, however wide it works for you. And our last posture, if you want to have a pillow or some sort of support underneath your body, just demonstrate for the pillow. And it move between these three angles of the legs. So first of all, I'm going to start towards the right leg. So we want first of all, the setup of the legs to be what they call an appropriate depth for you. So if the legs are too open and then you can't take a twist, you got to go a little bit softer. So you want to be able to keep the sit bones grounded and then take the twist towards the right leg and then allow yourself to fold forward. It might not be much of a fold, that's also absolutely fine. Just seeing where it is that you're going to be reaching into, dropping into today. We'll stay here for a minute, so about 5 breaths. Maybe 6 breaths. Starting to deepen into the breath. We've had the activation, just a little bit of activation, a little bit of stress, some balancing, some core, and now coming back into relaxation. From sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system, and we're always balancing between these two, depending on what's needed in that moment. Sometimes we can get stuck in one. Sometimes we can feel like we don't have the capacity to go towards one or the other. So this is what we're doing through this trauma-informed work. We're really paying attention to our energy levels, which is a sign of how our nervous system is operating. Last breath here as you're coming out, using the hands to press the torso up, nice and slow. Come across to the other side. Be just being mindful of the hips, the lower back, if there's any pain, discomfort. Absolutely not pushing it, not forcing it, just going softly. So it might be more of a seated twist where you're not actually folding forward. Wherever you can feel a nice stretch is ideal. And just taking 2 more breaths here. Again, using the hands when you're ready to press up. And the last angle of the torso is down the center. So finding a good height for the spine, whether you want to round the spine, let the head drop, whether you want to fold forward, whether you want to just stay lifted. Maybe you want to have a little bit more of movement in there, gentle, slow rocking side to side. We can have the legs very off, so not active at all, very floppy. And this really turns it into a yin posture where the muscles are not working and we can access the connective tissue. But if that feels a bit sort of exposing for the body too intense, then you can also add some activation through the muscles. So in order to do that, you just have to bring the toes up and try and activate the feet. And that will bring in some muscles working, activate the glutes. You can kind of choose what feels good for the body to have an active stretch or a passive stretch. And then these last three breaths, seeing if we can come back to the space between the inhale and the exhale. And then very gently bring the hands in, start to lift the torso, take the hands to one leg underneath the knee to bend that knee and that leg other side. So letting the legs come up and then letting the legs come across to one side, using the forearms, all the way down, coming onto the back, getting any warm, cozy things that you need. And letting yourself soften and sink down. And when you're ready, we start the practice of Yoga Nidra, beginning with the Sankalpa, an intention that we set to help guide the practice. Collective Sankalpa today is to move with awareness through these seasonal cycles and to also embrace our own seasons, our own cycles, our own changes during life, things that are out of our control that we're faced with, and these tools, these practices can help us navigate. So we allow ourselves to come down into relaxation in order to emerge. We start to bring awareness down into the left big toe, into the left second toe, the left third toe, the left fourth toe, and the left little toe. Awareness in the left heel, And the left sole of the foot. And the left ankle. And the left shin and the left calf. The left knee. And the left thigh. The left hip. And the left leg, the whole of the left leg. Bringing awareness now into the other side, into the right big toe. The right second toe. The right third toe. The right fourth toe. And the right little toe. Awareness in the sole of the right foot, in the heel, the ankle, the shin, and the calf, the right knee, the right thigh, the right hip, whole of the right leg. Awareness in both of the legs. And bringing awareness up into the pelvis, the lower back, the front of the body, the navel, left side ribs, right side ribs, up the spine, mid back, left shoulder blade, right shoulder blade, into the front of the torso to the heart space, left collarbone, right collarbone, left shoulder, left upper arm, left elbow, left forearm, left wrist, left thumb, left pointer finger, left middle finger, left ring finger, left little finger. Awareness in the left palm, the back of the left hand, and the whole of the left arm. Bringing awareness to the other side, to the right shoulder. Right upper arm. right elbow, right forearm, right wrist, right thumb, right pointer finger, right middle finger, right ring finger, right little finger. Awareness in the palm of the right hand, in the back of the right hand, in the whole of the right arm. Bringing awareness up into the neck, towards the jaw, the left jaw joint, the right jaw joint, the bottom lip, top lip, noticing the tongue resting in the mouth, left cheek, right cheek, across the bridge of the nose to between the eyebrows, awareness in the forehead, in the temples, crown of the head, and back of the head. Awareness in the whole of the body, the head, the arms, the legs, the torso. Awareness in the whole of the body. So allowing awareness to be in the ends of the fingers and in the toes, starting to wiggle or bring some movement back into fingers and toes. Bringing awareness to the breath and taking a deep breath in, stimulating sympathetic nervous system, bringing energy to the nervous system. In your own time, starting to stretch or move softly, gently. Perhaps drawing yourself onto one side now, coming into a little ball, knees in towards the chest, to the fetal position, hugging in, continuing to love and have compassion for ourselves. It is a practice, one we must be vigilant with. Preparing to emerge from this little safe cocoon space to come out and to come up to sitting, taking hands underneath us to push us up, to support us, taking a time just to find a seated position, coming back to sit, to find uprightness against gravity. And to find one of those tools that we've been working with just to close the practice. So this could be back to looking at the candle, a soft gaze at the light. This could also be the hand underneath the armpit, a holding of yourself. Could just be resting with the hands on the heart and the belly, noticing the breath. So finding a tool that works for you. Last couple of moments, just letting any reflections or information to emerge from this quiet space and time. And then gently bringing the hands together, the palms to touch, Anjali Mudra. So this intention of love, of gratitude. So thanking you all for joining this practice, for being part of this mini community, for self-care, for seasonal shifts and changes. And wishing you a beautiful evening, beautiful rest of the week. Namaste.